Professor Kaku, we're honored to have you, and I'd like to welcome you to stage.
Well, after such a great introduction, I can't wait to hear the speaker myself. First of all, let me say that many years ago, I was just like you. When I was 17 years old, I wanted to be part of this great revolution in science. So I went to my mother and I said, "Mom, can I have permission to build a particle accelerator, an atom smasher in the garage?" And my mom looked at me and said, "Sure, why not?" So I went to the electronics store. I got 22 miles of copper wire, 400 pounds of transformer steel, and I built a 2.3 million electron volt particle accelerator in my mother's garage. Finally, it was ready. I plugged it into the wall socket. It consumed 6 kilowatts of power, all the power of my house. And then I heard this pop, 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 pop sound as I blew out all the circuit breakers, all the fuses in the house. And the whole house was plunged in darkness. My poor mother, she would come home, the lights would flicker and die. And my mother would say, "Where is the fuse box?" And then my mother probably said, "Why can't I have a son who plays basketball? Maybe if I buy him a football. And for God's sake, why can't he find a nice Japanese girlfriend? What's wrong with him?" Well, there was nothing wrong with me because I was hooked on science. And I said, when I grow up, I want to try to help inspire the next generation to be interested in science because I'm fascinated by the future. This book, Physics of the Future, was a New York Times bestseller. It talks about the world 20, 50, 100 years into the future. I interviewed over 300 of the world's top scientists for this book. And my other book, Physics of the Impossible, goes 500 years into the future, when we might have starships, telepathy, teleportation, maybe even time travel. And my latest book, I'm proud to say, hit #1 in the United States. It was the #1 book in the United States. And it talks about the future of the mind, the future of telepathy, telekinesis, moving objects with the mind, communicating mentally with the mind. We can do this in the laboratory now. In the future, when you walk into a room, you will mentally control the computers, mentally control the internet, mentally use appliances. That's possible today. But today, let us talk about the past, and then let us talk about the future. When we look at the past, we have to realize that the Islamic civilization made many critical breakthroughs that have revolutionized the world. If you take a look at the Islamic contributions in astronomy, optics, physics, medicine, architecture, we see that these inventions helped to propel society going back to 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years ago, Europe was the backwater of the world. Europe was a net consumer of science. Europe did not create science. Europe was a consumer of science and technology. But look at what the Islamic civilization was capable of. First of all, astronomy, understanding the motion of the earth, the motion of the stars, The names of the stars, even today, bear this legacy. Algol, Altair are some of the names of the great stars in the heavens, names given by Islamic scholars. Optics. Islamic scholars were the ones who figured out how light bends when you stick a rod in water. If you stick a rod in water, it bends. How much does it bend by? They worked out the formula that is the basis of all of optics. And algebra is an Arabic name once again. Algebra, a tremendous breakthrough in our understanding of mathematics, came from the Islamic world. Medicine, mathematics, architecture, optics, mathematics, pioneered in the Islamic world. Then in the 1800s, we now talk about modern technology. Steam power was pioneered by physicists. Physicists worked out the energy of coal. We could now calculate how much energy coal could provide to power a locomotive. And this created the Industrial Revolution, the first great modern revolution only 150 years ago. The second wave was also initiated by physicists. We worked out electricity, magnetism, gasoline-fired engines, and that created enormous wealth of the early 1900s. The third wave of modern technology is high technology. Again, we physicists helped to create the computer, lasers, the internet, telecommunications. The third wave of technology. Steam power was the first. Electricity was the second. Third is computers and high technology. Today, we're going to ask the question, what is the fourth wave? The fourth wave of modern technology. The first wave was steam power. The second wave was electricity. The third wave was computers. The fourth wave, we think, will be a combination of biotech, nanotech, and artificial intelligence. This will generate wealth. It'll generate prosperity into the future. Because where does wealth come from? Ultimately, wealth, prosperity comes from science and technology. And computers, they obey something called Moore's Law, which allows us to calculate the power of computers of the future. Moore's Law says that computer power doubles every 18 months. For example, in 1969, we put 2 men on the moon. And if you look at the old videotapes of 1969, back then they used 64K processors. Your cell phone today has more computer power than all of the space program of 1969. That is how powerful computers are today, that your cell phone has more computer power than all of the space program in 1969. And now look at 2020. You now know the future. By 2020, computer chips will cost maybe a penny. A penny. Computers will be everywhere and nowhere. Computers will be in the floor, the ceiling, the walls, everywhere. Just like electricity. Where is electricity today? Electricity today is under your feet, in the walls, in the ceiling. Electricity is everywhere and nowhere. That's where computers will be in the future. In fact, the word computer will disappear from the English language. So computers, because of Moore's Law, has gone through 4 stages. In the 1950s, computers were huge, gigantic monsters in 1950. In 1980, we had the PC. Then today, we have the internet and cloud computing. And we now know the future of the computer. The future of the computer is to disappear, to become invisible, because the internet will be everywhere and nowhere, including your glasses. These glasses are more powerful than Google glasses. They recognize people's faces. In the future, when you see somebody, your glasses will identify that person and print out a biography next to their image. And if they speak to you in Chinese, your glasses will translate Chinese into Arabic, English, whatever, and give you subtitles underneath their image. So you will always know who you are talking to. Now today, Google Glasses allow you to do surgery for medicine. In the future, ordinary workers will wear these glasses because they will see the blueprint. They will see the plan, the layout, the diagrams right there in their contact lens. Tourists will use this because as they walk through the ruins of a civilization, they will see it resurrected in their glasses. So we will see that information is everywhere and nowhere. Information will be everywhere. These glasses means that this is the future of your home entertainment center. This is how you will watch movies. This is how you will work. But there's a problem. What happens if you don't like glasses? What happens if you cannot wear glasses? Then what do? Then in the future, you will blink and you will be online. The internet will be in your contact lens. And who were the first people to buy internet contact lenses? Students just like you taking final examinations. You will blink and see all the answers to the exam right there in your contact lens. Who else will use this? Again, workers. Workers in the oil fields, workers in the factory will see diagrams, blueprints, instructions everywhere they go. If you are driving in a car, you will see a description of everything you're looking at in your contact lens. So in other words, the internet, with all its knowledge, will be right there in your contact lens. This is how you will buy things in the future. You will look at something, blink, and you will buy it. Everything will be done by blinking in the future. This is called augmented reality. Virtual reality is for children. Virtual reality is when you put on goggles and you see a cartoon. That's called virtual reality. This is augmented reality. When you see a description, an explanation of what you are looking at. This is how we will learn in the future. This is how workers will have instructions. Tourists will know what they are looking at. When you drive your car, you will understand what is around you. And it was first introduced in the movies. This is the movie Terminator. And when the robot identifies the victim, there's a biography of the person. So in the future, workers, soldiers, scientists, students will have infinite knowledge by blinking. In fact, the military already has a version of this. You stick it on your helmet and you flick it over your eye, and immediately you see the internet of the battlefield. So we're talking about the digitalization of life. One by one, every aspect of our life will be computerized. For example, money. Today, in Europe, you can buy things with your cell phone. You point and click, point and click, and this is how you buy things. In the future, beyond that, you will simply blink, and you will buy things. So the cell phone of the future, what will it look like? The cell phone of the future will have intelligent paper inside. You scroll out intelligent paper, and you can create a screen as big as you want. So your cell phone will have the power of a large computer because paper will become intelligent. In fact, we can make yards of intelligent paper. This is the future of wallpaper. Wallpaper of the future will be intelligent. You will talk to the wall will change color, different movies, different people, whatever will appear in your wall. And this is also the future of medicine. Let's say that it's 4 o'clock in the morning and you feel sick and you have to see a doctor real quick. What do? You go to the wall and you say, mirror, mirror on the wall, I want to see RoboDoc right now. Boom! RoboDoc appears. RoboDoc is an animated doctor that speaks perfect language and accesses the internet to give you medical advice almost for free. You will have a doctor in your wall. Let's say you're in a car accident and you have to talk to a lawyer real fast. What do? You talk to RoboLawyer. RoboLawyer is an animated, artificially intelligent figure that gives you legal advice. If you are in the oil fields and there's an emergency, some parts break down, what do? You talk to RoboEngineer. RoboEngineer knows how to fix oil wells. RoboEngineer knows all about oil. So in the future, you will have expert systems that access the internet, that are artificially intelligent, that understand medicine, the law, engineering almost for free. Sound advice in your wallpaper. So we're talking about the digitalization of life. Even capitalism is being digitalized. The first industry to be digitalized was music. We scientists told the music industry that a song is nothing but 1 megabyte of memory. That's nothing. The internet will eat up music. But the music industry said no. The music industry said people will always buy music the old-fashioned way. Wrong. You know who controls the music industry today? You children already know this. Who controls music today? Apple computers through iTunes. And so the lesson is clear. The lesson is clear. And that is, it's inevitable that society will also be digitalized. Now it's media. Now it's newspapers, the movies, books. They are being digitalized even as we speak. So that your cell phone, your iPad, your tablet can access almost infinite amount of knowledge. So what's next? What's next to be digitalized is transportation, medicine, education. They are next to be digitalized. So this is your living room of the future. This is how you will relax. You'll be surrounded 360 degrees by intelligent wallpaper. You simply talk to the wall, and all of a sudden, you're in a sports arena. You talk to the wall, all of a sudden, you're in an ocean liner. You're in a jet plane. You're in a rocket ship. Just by talking to the wall, you change everything around you. So one by one, everything in our life will be digitalized. Things will be easier to use. We will be able to talk to things. Life will be easier as a consequence. Already, chips are being placed in toys, so that when you buy a toy today, it's intelligent. This is actually creating a problem for the English language. We have a contradiction in terms called smart Barbie dolls. That's a contradiction in terms. Another contradiction in terms is Microsoft Works. That's also a contradiction in terms. Television will be digitalized. 3D TV without glasses. That has been the goal of television for the last 50 years, and we failed until now. We did it. We can now make 3D without glasses. The secret is the screen, not the glasses. There are no more glasses. The screen consists of thousands of vertical lines. Each vertical line is a prism. It cuts the image in half. One half goes to the left eye, one half goes to the right eye, and you have 3D without glasses. This is going to revolutionize television. This will be in your living room in the next few years. And how will you buy things in the future? Let's say you want to buy a wedding dress or a suit. You finally found it, the perfect dress, right color, right shape, but wrong size. What happens today? No sale. But in the future, your 3D measurements are in the cloud. The cloud already knows exactly your 3D measurements, and they will cut exactly what you want and send it to you. This is called mass customization, not mass production. Mass customization. What you want, you will get. And this is the future of manufacturing. Right now, we have mass production of tools, mass production of machine parts. In the future, you will do it in a printer, a 3D printer that can print almost anything you want. Look at what you can do. You email the blueprint to your friend. The friend then prints out a beautiful three-dimensional object. Machine parts can be done this way. If you were an oil worker and a part breaks down, you can email that part and print it out on the spot. So this is going to revolutionize the way we view manufacturing. Manufacturing will also be digitalized. And this is your office. This is the office of the future. Notice that there's no PC. No PC. These are called scrap computers. They only cost a penny a piece. You scribble on them and then throw them away because computers cost a penny. So where will the PC be in the future? In the future, the PC will be in a museum. And this is your cubicle of the future. This is how you will work. You'll be surrounded by beautiful, flexible, color, 3D television. It will be so beautiful, you will never get any work done in the future. And this is the classroom of the future. Today, if you are sick, you go home and you miss that day's instruction if you're sick. In the future, you will have a surrogate. A surrogate is your teacher. The surrogate has a TV camera. You can see the teacher in the TV camera. And the teacher can see you in that surrogate. So in your class, the surrogate will be in your chair. The teacher will see you sitting in that chair through the TV screen. So in the future, you will never miss a day of class. Isn't the future wonderful? You will never, ever miss a day of class because your surrogate will be sitting in your chair, and your teacher will see you inside the surrogate. This is the car of the future. The car of the future drives itself. This is actually already possible in California and other cities, cars which drive themselves. It's because of GPS. GPS, we physicists created GPS. It allows us to calculate the position of a car to within 6 inches. I drove this car. BBC television put me in this car. So I was driving this car like this, and then the cameraman from BBC television said, "Let go of the steering wheel." And I said, "What? Are you crazy? I'm not going to let go of the steering wheel. You're nuts." And the cameraman said, "Trust me. Let go of the steering wheel." So I closed my eyes, I let go of the steering wheel, and the car drove itself. So for those of you who have cars, let's do a science experiment. After today's lecture, get in your car and go like this and see how far you get. Because in the future, you will drive your car like this. So we're talking about the seamless transfer of information. When you drive your car, you will see things described for you. You will know what you are looking at because there's a description of everything you are looking at. People have names. Houses have descriptions. And what about airplanes and jets of the future? NASA has stated that by 2025, we need a supersonic jetliner. Jetliners haven't changed for 50 years. We've had the same jet airplane for 50 years. These are supersonic. They travel faster than the speed of sound. Now, the Concorde was a supersonic transport, but it failed. It failed because it made a huge sonic boom, a boom every time it went over somebody's city. These do not. Using computers, we can calculate that a flying wing like this does not create a sonic boom. So after 2025, these will go into production. Flying wings is the first of several designs being looked at. They are supersonic. They go faster than the speed of sound. They are flying wings. The other design is called the box wing. The box wing design also has no sonic boom. No sonic boom that breaks glass, that disturbs people. So several designs are being looked at, the flying wing and the box wing. This is how we will travel after 2025. And Boeing is even looking at electric airplanes. This airplane is a hybrid electric airplane. That is how advanced hybrid electric technology is. We can use that in airplanes. So this means that we will live in a new world that I call perfect capitalism. Today, when you go shopping, you don't know what things really cost. You don't know who's cheating you. You don't know what the profit margin is. In the future, you will. Supply and demand become perfect. You know exactly how much things really cost. You know who's cheating you. You know who has the best product. When you go to a store, your contact lens will scan everything and tell you who has the best, who has the cheapest. And if you are the producer, you will fight back using data mining. You will know everything about the consumer. Big data, data mining, targeted marketing. This is how the manufacturer will know everything about you. And so this means that society will become more efficient. We will have a more efficient society. Products will be cheaper. They will be more efficient. But there are winners and losers. Every revolution has winners and losers. Today, we no longer have blacksmiths. We no longer have wagon makers. But no one cries. Who cries because we no longer have blacksmiths or wagon makers? So who will lose in this revolution? Listen carefully, because you do not want to get a job if that job is going to disappear in the future. The losers are middlemen, agents, brokers, tellers, middlemen. They will become extinct because of the fact that supply and demand become perfect. You don't need a middleman anymore. That's what computers can do. They can replace agents and brokers. And medicine. This is the big one. People are getting older, especially in Europe and the United States. We have to digitalize medicine. So, here's how we do it. First, how small can we make a chip? Today, we can make a chip so small, we could put a computer inside an aspirin pill, along with a television camera and a magnet. You swallow it. You swallow it, and then you guide the pill down your stomach into your intestine, and it takes beautiful pictures of the inside of your body. Because we all know what middle-aged men fear the most. We all know what middle-aged men fear the most, and that is the C word, colonoscopy. Colonoscopy is when they take a long tube and they stick it up your rear. That's called a colonoscopy. You see, this gives new meaning for the expression Intel inside. In the future, Intel will always be inside. And what about cancer? In the future, the word tumor will disappear from our language. This is a DNA chip. Using Silicon Valley technology, we can create a chip so sensitive it can identify cancer in your blood, cancer in your urine, 10 years before a tumor forms. Fragments of cancer genes, proteins, can be detected by DNA chips. So the word tumor will gradually disappear from the language. And then, if you need body parts, we will grow them. This is an ear. It is made out of plastic. You take cells from your ear, put it inside the plastic. They grow to create a perfect ear. Then the plastic dissolves, leaving a perfect ear. This is bone on the left. From your own cells, we can grow bone. On the right is cartilage, noses and ears on the right. And then this is a bladder, a complete human bladder grown from a young girl's own cells, and it works. They place this inside a young girl, and it works. Beyond that, windpipes. We can now grow entire windpipes. The next to be grown is the liver. We cannot yet do that, but the liver, the kidney, lungs, ultimately we hope to grow them in the laboratory. So one day, organ failure will disappear from the language. We will simply grow organs of the body. And this is now the brain. We can now see inside the thinking brain. Blood flows in the brain. Using MRI, we can trace the movement of blood in the brain. On the left is your brain when it tells the truth. When you tell the truth, nothing much happens to your blood. But on the right is your blood when you tell a lie. When you tell a lie, first, you have to know the truth. Second, you have to create the lie. Third, you have to calculate the consistency of the lie with all the other lies you've been telling all these years. That's a lot of brain power. Your brain lights up like a Christmas tree, okay? And also, we can test many theories of the brain this way. Many parents, for example, your parents are probably convinced that teenagers suffer from brain damage. Yes, every parent knows that their children suffer from brain damage. It's true. Using MRI, you can show that teenagers do not have a prefrontal cortex that is well developed. It is absolutely true. Another old wives' tale that people often talk about is that sometimes, you've noticed this, sometimes men, when they talk to a pretty girl, they start to act stupid. Why is that? Well, with the brain scan, you can actually see that when a man talks to a pretty girl, blood drains from the prefrontal cortex, and the person becomes stupid. The person becomes mentally retarded because blood drains from the prefrontal cortex. We can see this now using MRI machines. And what do we want to do with it? One thing is to give the gift of life to people who are paralyzed. Many people have disease, car injuries. Many people have injuries to the spinal cord in sports. They are paralyzed. They cannot move at all. We can now put a chip in their brain, shown here, connect the chip to a computer. And these people can now read email, write email, surf the web, and operate household appliances, and even operate mechanical arms and legs. This woman here on the left is totally paralyzed. She cannot scratch her nose. She cannot move her body. But at Brown University, they hooked her up to a mechanical arm and a mechanical leg. And if you saw the football games this past summer we had the football games in Brazil, remember? In the opening shot, there was a man who kicked the football. That's how it started. That man was totally paralyzed. Totally paralyzed. At Duke University, they put a chip in his brain, hooked that chip to mechanical arms and legs, and he kicked the football in the Brazil soccer games. Eventually, this knowledge will become part of our daily life. On the upper right, they sell this in Japan. It is a headband that picks up brain waves, and it's connected to 2 ears. So in Japan, if you talk to someone who's interesting, the 2 ears light up. If you talk to someone who's boring, the 2 ears go like that, okay? So in Japan, you always know if you are impressing the girl or the boy because the ears stand up. Otherwise, they go down like that. In fact, in my course, I want to give my students these ears so I know who's listening to my lecture and I know who's falling asleep in my lecture. On the left, Silicon Valley is getting interested in this. In the future, maybe there's no more mouse. Why do we have to have that mouse? Why not simply think, and type? Think and move the cursor on the screen. This is a real possibility now. So what about people who have Alzheimer's disease? The population of Europe is aging. We will have millions of people with Alzheimer's. We need a brain pacemaker, and that's coming next. We can now record memories. This was something that the movies have always talked about, recording a memory. We can now do it. At Wake Forest University in North Carolina, they took a mouse, recorded the impulses across the hippocampus, reinserted that tape recording into the mouse, and the mouse remembered. We can now record memories. In the future, we will create a brain pacemaker for Alzheimer's patients. As they lose their memory, they will push a button, shown here on the right. They will push a button, and the memory will be inserted into their brain. Eventually, students will use this. Don't you want to learn mathematics the easy way? Maybe in the future you push a button and, oh, I got it. I understand. I can pass algebra now. And it is also possible to photograph a thought. This is very new, done at the University of California. On the left is the brain in a brain scan. We can calculate blood flow in 30,000 places in the thinking brain. We now put that data, 30,000 pixels, into a computer. The computer then analyzes the 30,000 dots and creates a picture of what you are thinking of. Look on the right, on the top is a real picture. Below that is what you are thinking. We can actually photograph your thoughts now. The thoughts, of course, only 30,000 dots, not very good, but it also means we can photograph a dream. When you fall asleep in the MRI machine keeps on going and prints out memories, prints out what you are dreaming about. So one day when you wake up in the morning, you will push a button and you will see the dream that you had the previous night. And what about the aging process? As I mentioned, America, Europe, China, people are aging. We do not have a solution for this problem, but we are now unraveling the genes that seem to control the aging process. So maybe sometime in the future, when you hit the age of 30, you may want to stop. You may like being 30. You may want to be 30 years old for many, many decades. We cannot do this today. But in the future, it may be possible that we could stop the aging process. And lastly, what about true robots? Well, true robots have been a disappointment. Robots of today are not very smart, but they can do repetitive tasks. On the lower left is the robot cook. It can actually cook dinner. It's not very smart at all. But if you program it, it will cook dinner for you on the lower left. On the upper left is a robot nurse. It'll pick you up and put you in bed. Why is Japan building these robots? Japan is the world's leader in these building robots. And the reason is Japan is getting older. It is aging faster than any other nation on the planet Earth. And so these are the future of nurses. We will have mechanical nurses and mechanical cooks. But the real jobs that require imagination, jobs that require experience, they cannot be replaced by robots. So if you are looking for a job of the future, look for a job that requires science, innovation, analysis, imagination, innovation, creativity. Those jobs cannot be replaced by robots. And let's now have the video. We're now going to go into the future and visit a hospital. What will a hospital look like in the future when, let's say, you have a heart problem and you have to create a new heart valve? What will a visit to the hospital look like 50 years from now? Let's have the video from the Discovery Channel. Let's have the video now.
In a world machines interact like people, and bodies can be rebuilt from scratch. How will we wage war, fuel our need for power, commute to space? What life-saving innovations will be possible in the next 50 years?
Flying ambulances and intelligent clothing. Brain chips cure paralysis. Vital organs printed to order.
See how scientists today are making visions of tomorrow real. Physicist and futurist Meiichiro Kaku will guide you through the medical breakthroughs that will change your life. The future is closer than you think.
It all starts now with the body.
50 years from now, computer chips connect you to the entire city, including your insurance company. The good news is you'll live a lot longer because an agent gives you a remote physical every 3 days. The bad news? You'll have no secrets.
Wait, the mucous membrane of the mouth? Send health memo immediately.
Bonjour, Monsieur Degas. Here are a few more tips for your dental care. Brush your teeth regularly using the ultrasound toothbrush.
Which will give away the fact that Alan was partying last night and his premiums will go up as a result.
Thanks for your attention.
You must be joking. Get the car, please.
Alan's clothing looks quite ordinary, but that's deceptive because woven inside the fabric are dozens of tiny computer chips and sensors monitoring his health. When he puts on his clothing, he goes online. Now get this. If he's ever knocked unconscious, his clothes will automatically identify his coordinates, alert the authorities, and upload his entire medical history before the ambulance arrives. In the future, you will have a doctor in your clothing.
When you have a severe accident, brain cells can die within 6 minutes. The ambulance of tomorrow will not only reach you in time, it will carry a medical revolution that can save your life.
Patient data registered. Alain Degas. Platinum class confirmed. Loss of blood, 35%. I suggest reversible death.
Okay.
After a severe accident or heart attack, every second brings us closer to death. So wouldn't it be great if one day we could somehow stop the clock? In the future, EMT crews could use a technique called reversible death or suspended animation. They will replace your blood with an ice-cold saline solution, dropping your body temperature to below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. At that point, brain and heart activity come to a halt. And that's not the only blood substitute that one day could save your life.
50 years from now, we'll have cures for trauma victims that would seem like miracles today.
Your left thigh has been fractured and your hip is dislocated. 2 ribs and a second lumbar vertebra are also fractured, but you have a bigger problem. Your artificial heart has fissures.
You're gonna open me up.
You need a new heart. The print's already in progress. It'll only take another 20 hours.
Iris scan identified. Marie Balzac. Status, cleared for security zone. Have a nice evening.
In this high-security area, gene specialists have processed the patient's tissue sample. Now they are using it to print a heart.
If your car gets banged up because you're in a car accident, what do? You go to the body shop and get a new door or fender. But if you happen to be in that same accident, you could die. Now, consider this. In the United States alone, there are 91,000 patients waiting for an organ transplant. And of them, 18 die every day for an organ that never comes. What we need is a human body shop. And in 50 years' time, tissue engineering could change everything.
A child today with a defective heart valve has limited options. Valves from animals don't last long, and artificial valves can cause clots. Stephen Yuckenhoovel wants to avoid these problems by implanting the world's first heart valve grown exclusively from the body's own tissue. Within an hour, he has the rough form of a heart valve, which he places in a bioreactor. Next, he adds nutrients and cells which normally line heart valve walls. The cells latch onto the structure and start to grow. Within just 3 weeks, a complete heart valve has formed. Finally, a pump exercises the valve to strengthen its walls so it can withstand the high pressures in a human heart.
Patient hypotherm.
During surgery, doctors won't have to touch the patient.
Body temperature 46 degrees. Blood completely replaced with plasma solution.
Instead, surgeons will manipulate a 3D model of the body. These virtual images will revolutionize surgery in the next decades. With a click, doctors can switch from a scalpel to a saw. They open the thorax virtually, while robotic arms perform the actual incisions.
Are all the main arteries blocked?
Yes, you can remove the organ.
And now, I'd like to make some concluding comments. When I was a child, my role model was Albert Einstein. And my favorite Einstein story is this. When Einstein was an old man, he was tired of giving the same talk over and over again. So one day his chauffeur came up to him, and the chauffeur said, "Professor, I'm really a part-time actor. I've heard your speech so many times I've memorized it. So why don't we switch places? I will put on a wig, I will put on a mustache, I will be the great Einstein, and you can put on a jacket and be my chauffeur. So why not switch places?" So Einstein loved the joke, so they switched places. This went along famously until one day, a mathematician in the back asked a very difficult question. And Einstein thought, oh, the game is up. But then the chauffeur said, that question is so elementary that even my chauffeur here can answer it for you. Thank you very much. You've been a great audience. Thank you. And remember, science is the engine of wealth and prosperity. That's where wealth comes from. It comes from science and technology. Thank you.